Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to our talk. My name is Dan Berlin, and Susan Mercer is going to be joining me here today as well. And we're going to be talking about design experience research, or experience research. No more users, right? So don't fear the small numbers. How a few design research participants can provide big insights into your design project. So first off, this is us. I run the research. The research team at Mad Pow. We have a team of 4 full-time researchers who support all of our design. So with our tagline, research-inspired design, our old tagline, research is a big part of pretty much everything we do at Mad Pow. So our research team gets to see a lot of the projects going on. And Susan is on my team. So we're going to be talking to you about how to use small numbers, or why small numbers of participants can be very powerful when doing research. And the way that we're going to go about this is we're going to start with the requests that we see for large numbers of participants. We get this a lot from clients, and when we're talking to prospects. People who are more familiar with more traditional means of research. And they say, all right, we want to do one-on-one interviews with 100 people and so forth. We're here to tell you why that may not necessarily be the best idea when doing design research. How those small numbers can provide those big insights. And then finally, the magic question is, all right, what is that number for? What is that right number of participants? And we will touch upon that. So, first off, large versus small numbers. And we're going to talk about 2 things that design research is not, first off, and this is more on the traditional side. So first off, design research is not market research. Very different things. Market research is very important. So market research, so it's great for traditional uses. I am not here to put down market research because it's very important. When you're trying to determine what product you're going to be selling, to whom, and at what price point, yep, you need those numbers in order to prove that this is the direction that you should be taking. So you do need those larger numbers in order to help sell the story, to prove things. And when I say prove, we never really prove things. We're saying that within a certain statistical significance, it's most likely that it's true. But that's why we look for statistical significance in market research, because we do want to show, without a shadow of a doubt, that, all right, we should be going in this direction. So if you'll still use those 4 Ps and go read David Ogilvy's book, and that's really important for the marketing world. And along those lines, we're not in the Mad Men days anymore. We are not designing print advertisements or TV spots that are a one-shot deal, where we produce something and we send it off to the TV station or to the newspaper, and we can't change it. That's not the world we live in today. And in that world, yeah, you needed to prove that the copy was on point, that the design, the artistic aspect was on point. But now we live in a digital age, and we can make changes pretty quickly. So we're not in this Mad Men world anymore, where we have to do focus groups, or we can just taste it, as for anyone who knows the scene from Mad Men. Even if it's not a digital interface, if we are producing something that's physical, we still live in this world where we can iterate, where we can learn, we can learn from people who are going to be using this and make changes as time goes on. That's the great world that we live in these days. And design research is fairly new. Design research has only been around for, say 20 years, to be liberal? And it was born out of market research. But that's why it gets confused with market research. And that's why when we talk to some folks, they say, all right, I want to talk to 100 people, 200 people. I want to get statistical significance, that this is important. Well, that's not what we're doing in design. We're talking to a few people. We are learning from those people. We're going to make changes to those designs, and then we're going to do it all again. And that's why good design follows an iterative process. We've all seen different iterative process pictures where we have a circle where we do some prototyping, we share it out to people, we get some feedback from people, we refine it, and then we do the whole thing over again. And that's why Agile is so popular these days, because it allows us to iterate and allows us to insert design iteration into this development process as Agile started. We have this amazing opportunity to check in with users on a regular basis and course correct as we go. We can make little fine adjustments as we talk to these folks because we can talk to them often. We can put something new out there on a regular basis. Again, this is not a one-shot deal like in the Mad Men days when we were just putting an ad out there and hoping that enough people would bite. And this also allows us to see if the user's wants and needs really do align with the business goals. So the first step that businesses should be doing is that market research. All right, here's what we're thinking, and then we put maybe a prototype together or a paper prototype, an initial artifact that we can put in front of users and say, all right, how does this align with what your expectations are for what this thing should do? And then we can start checking in with those users and make small tweaks. All right, that first time we talked to users, they said, all right, you're close, but to really meet my needs, we need to do these things. And then we can go ahead and make those changes, iterate, and then do it all over again. We have that luxury. And the other aspect of that is that we can iterate after releasing the product, which was unheard of in the Mad Men days. So now we can release even an alpha, a beta, or even release the product, make changes, and release a point release very easily. So that ease of doing releases allows us to talk to users more often and to refine and to make small course corrections as we go. So that's the marketing aspect. So that's, again, in the marketing world, we needed to prove this in order to bring the company forward. The other aspect of it, another thing that design research is not, is that they are not clinical trials. Design research are not clinical trials. Clinical trials are very important, but that's not what we're doing in design research. And to make a vast understatement, just as with market research, clinical trials are important. They are very important. We want to make sure that the intervention or the treatment that we are producing or that someone is producing does indeed do no harm, and it does treat the thing that we're looking to treat. And we need to prove it through statistically significant data. Just very, very important. But again, that's not design research. Design research is we don't need to prove anything. We're never really proving that an interface is intuitive. We can show that people didn't really have a problem using the interface, but we never have to prove anything. So we don't have to talk to 100, 200 people in order to show that, all right, this button right here, no one's noticing that. You can talk to 10 people and see that 6 out of 10 people completely miss that button. You don't need to talk to the other 92 people because you can make that change and iterate and make the design change, put it in front of users again, and then show that people are no longer missing the button, which is great. And now there are exceptions to this rule where we do want to get a statistical significant number of people when doing design research, such as when we are doing usability research for FDA approval. So maybe a pharmaceutical company is putting out a new medical device, and they want to show to the FDA that it is indeed usable. So we do need to get a statistically significant number of participants and show that X number were able to do this with no problem. Say 85%, 90% of the participants had no problem using this. So now we are sort of proving that the interface is indeed intuitive and usable. But that's typically for FDA approval. When we're doing this on a regular basis and iterating, no, talk to 12 people, learn some things, move on from there. So in iterative research, we can get away with those smaller participants. So we've talked about market research, we've talked about clinical studies so far. So this is what design research looks like. How many folks have seen a scene like this with the one-way mirror and the observation room? All right, so most of you. So you've seen what design research really looks like. And this is what we're talking about today. It's research that informs the design of interfaces, workflows, devices, and other experiences. And not just for users, for patients, for physicians, for everyone out there. We're not determining who's going to buy this and at what price. That's for marketing to determine. They're going to get their numbers and they can determine that, and that's great. And we're also not determining the efficacy of a medical device or a treatment. That's for clinicians to determine. And this is all typically done before we take a look at it. Design research is taking a look at how people are completing tasks today, what those ideal workflows are, how they think about it, what interfaces and devices and services they're using today that influence how they think about these things, the challenges they have, the unmet needs. It's a phrase, it's a very important phrase. What are the unmet needs that people have, and how can we help fulfill those? So we'll do some user interviews to begin with, learn about those unmet needs, put it into a prototype, put it in front of folks, and iterate. It's all about iterating. And design research activities are mostly qualitative. We are talking with folks, we are finding trends in the qualitative data, and we have different ways of doing this. So what you're seeing here is actually the Mad Pow lab in Boston, where we have the observation room in the lab, but we also do in-home studies. So, and you get to see such interesting things that you would never see in a lab when you go to someone's home or into someone's office. And there are various examples of awesome things that we've discovered in doing this type of research. So for this, actually, do you want to describe this one?
Yeah, for this one we were doing an in-home study of patients who had to inject medication into themselves for either multiple sclerosis or rheumatoid arthritis. So this is an MS patient. And this particular injection pen required that the top part of the pen be pushed down so that the two halves were pushed together at the same time pressing the button to do the injection. Well, they also needed to inject in like the back of their arm, which is kind of hard to do as one of the locations. So this patient learned from another patient that if you take a rubber band, you can kind of jerry-rig a little solution to keep those two things pushed together so you can easily inject yourself. We never would have discovered that in a lab or in a regular interview if we hadn't gone in their home to have them show us how they do it day to day.
And this is the type of stuff that you don't need to talk to 100 people to find out. We could go to 12, 20 people's homes and see the different things that they're doing and find those trends to go inform the design. But we never would have found something like this in a